Welcome to You Can't Make This Shit Up. This is David Washington. I'm Joel Hoxley. We're here at the Oxford in Altamont Springs.
Yes.
It's the Sports Pub and Secret Society.
Indeed.
With a menu that rocks. So now that we got all the pleasantries out of the way.
Indeed.
Is there anything on the list that I should read next? No. This is a pleasure to come to you live from the Oxford.
Indeed.
The topic is juvenile justice. Briefly, before anything from our script and stuff or what we have,
our show notes,
I totally believe that juvenile justice is stricter today because of adults using juveniles to do their bidding. And I don't, and charging a juvenile like an adult, I don't believe does anything. There's nothing to deter crime. But I'm a Republican, so we're tough on crime, right? And so, let's go.
I mean, I see what you're saying. Growing up in the 80s, south side of Chicago, we had drug wars. We had the crack epidemic, and young people were used by older people to move product. And in the gang wars, it wasn't uncommon that young black boys and men were recruited to distribute drugs, to hold a firearm and use that firearm when necessary. And so the laws changed, and the penalties were a lot stricter. And even for the youth who were arrested and charged with these crimes.
Yeah. So here's what you have, right? You have two different rule books, one for young people because their minds are developing, and they're not adults. And then you had a different rule. You have a different set of rules for adults. Mm-hmm. The adults get smart because they are adults, and they figure, hey, why don't you move this product? Because if you get busted, then you're going to get out in less than a week. You can get busted up to 3 times. I can't. Sure. I can only get busted 3 times, and then I'm in prison for the rest of my life.
Sure.
So, again, I'm going to go back to, I get to punch Biden on this one. Biden's policies of governing the judicial system was to put in stricter rules. The penalties became so strict that they went to youth. Now youth are being treated like adults.
So in this particular episode of You Can't Make This Shit Up, we're looking at a recent report by the Florida Department of Juvenile Justice that came out recently to discuss how many cases, felony violent crime cases, have been dropped by the different circuit state's attorneys. And lo and behold,
I bet you I know who's number one is.
Number one is the Ninth Circuit, which covers Orange County and Osceola County here in Florida. And that would be State's Attorney Monique Worrell's office. 41% of violent felony crimes, their cases were dropped in one manner or another.
Wow, she's got a big heart. I love it. Hey, don't worry about it. You know what?
And the reasoning for many of the cases being dropped or not moving forward was because there was not enough cooperating evidence to move forward, or witnesses did not make themselves available to testify. And that is a two-edged sword, because snitches get stitches.
Oh, the first thing that was sticking in my head was, hey, most of the time, listen, if you want to get out of a ticket, like I'm just going to go to a regular traffic ticket, right? Just take your traffic ticket and go to court, right? Plead, hey, I want to plead not guilty. The next time you go into the courtroom, even if that one, the police officer's not there,
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you how many times I've seen my friends go into court. I said, "How did it what happened? Oh, they dismissed it. Oh, they dismissed it. Why'd they dismiss it? Well, the police officer didn't show up because they're working, people.
Lack of
But
evidence.
you're also these are planned out. It's not like they didn't know they had a court.
Of course,
case.
it was.
It was just like, oh, I gave him a hard time on the road. I don't need to go in. He's already learned his lesson.
In this report, and this is a summary of the data. The outcomes for violent felony referrals statewide: 21% of the referrals that involved a violent felony resulted in non-file or no prosecute outcomes. That's the state average, 21%. The circuits with the lowest percentage of these outcomes were 2% and 10%. I'm sorry, 2% for circuit 2 and 5% for circuit 10. The circuits with the highest rates of non-files and no prosecute outcomes for violent felony referrals were circuit 9
and 12. I know that 12 was not even close,
right.
though.
And where's 12?
I don't know where 12 is, but I know 12 has got to be. It's got to be
south. Broward.
Is it south or is it north? Does it go down like this?
I can find out.
That's a good question, but 12. They were only 37%.
Right.
Maybe it's the guy that got kicked out of office.
Over there in Tampa.
I'm trying to learn about judges because I think judges have the best races.
Yeah.
And they're the most challenging races out there because when was the last time you went in and you knew who the judges were on your ballot? Not very often. So
it's tough. It's really tough. We were having a conversation, I think, in regards to how to, I know I was in the conversation about how to determine who is the best candidate for a judicial seat. And the conversation was about 10, 15 minutes. It was some business executives that I was speaking to last week. And I said, what they have on their websites, the candidates is what's presented to you. You really have to do your research.
Well, you have to do more than your research. When it comes to judges, you have to go above and beyond because, first of all, unless the newspaper tells you, you don't know what party they're in. So you got people calling you up on the telephone if you're a party person and asking you, who's the one am I supposed to vote for? Who's the one I'm supposed to vote for? So, I mean, nobody pays attention. And you get candidates that are the same party. Mm-hmm. They're the same party, but they change, change party affiliation or stuff, but just because they need to fit the county that they're in.
Yeah.
But judges, to me, I know we're on the wrong subject, but judges, to me,
we'll get back.
We got to get off of this good old boys thing. I mean, I'm a Republican. I'm glad that we can, the governor can put in the judges he wants. I get that. But when we start just putting judges in that don't meet the area, I guarantee you, we have some conservative justices that are here in the Ninth Circuit, and that's why Worrell takes these cases and says, you know what? These are conservative judges that are going to throw the book at these people. I want to give them that second chance before it even gets there. And I mean, that's just my personal feeling, and it's not about feelings in this business.
There's diversion programs and things like that. One note, I was looking that 29% of the violent firearms charges, felony charges, cases were also dropped. And that's concerning, especially with, the change in the new laws and everything. However, it also says to us that, the gun violence, at least in the Ninth Circuit, is an issue, is a concern. However, the state's attorney is unable to move forward with those cases because they don't feel confident with what they have with the witnesses or lack thereof in the lack of evidence to move forward on those cases. It's a concern, especially with these young people who are being charged, who are coming back to do even more heinous crimes like murder or rape or grape.
So my view. How do you look at it? Osceola County does not get the media attention that Orange does.
Mhm.
So, is it Orange or Osceola? I mean, having those two counties together, pretty blue,
One circuit,
right? It's one
It's
circuit.
one circuit.
But is more of it coming from Osceola or Orange? I mean, because I don't see Osceola as being as dangerous as Orange. I think their sheriff.
I think it's how it's reported. I mean, like Orlando Sentinel, is heavy on Orlando, on Orange County.
Right.
And granted, I don't get the Orlando Sentinel, thrown on my threshold at home. I mean, I have the digital, but most of the information that I read is Orange County.
Yeah.
And I specifically look at Orange County because of where I work and live. And I'm concerned. You heard my conversation with a mutual friend of ours yesterday that I'm concerned about the potential rise in gun violence based on new laws that went into effect.
See, and
the randomness of the crime, the violent crime is what I'm more concerned about.
But do you have a concern about the law and the way it changed, or you have a problem with possibly the leadership? When I like John. I like John Mina. Okay, I like Sheriff Mina. He's a very nice guy. Very short. I mean, like I've never seen anybody like. He's like, because he wears green. The first thing I think of is a leprechaun when I see him. So I'm going to ask him if he's Irish. No, I'm sorry, guys. Listen, I like John Mina, but I also know his record. And when I look at his record, and I go, listen. You had a problem in Orlando, and now Orange is having a problem. But now I need to compare now because this circuit goes into Osceola. Now I need to compare Lopez and Mina, or do I because it's all going to the same place?
For me, it's not. My concern is not necessarily the leadership of either sheriff departments or state's attorney Worrell. My concern is just the randomness of crime and growing up. Again, I'm just basing this back on my experience growing up in the 80s with the gang wars. It's like a repeat. I'm seeing a repeat. It's just that the guns are either at or exceed the firepower of what I was used to back in the 80s. And the randomness is even more frightening. And with road rage and people being more reactionary now than they have been growing up. We're quick to reach for a firearm to resolve an issue.
Then, David.
Well, they drive too slow. Damn it. Move over.
No, David,
get over.
I see your concerns, but I also think that it takes a good guy with a gun to stop a bad guy with a gun. Yes, I am that guy that used that quote there. Okay. I do believe that guns don't kill people. People kill people. I believe that we have a mental health problem in our country right now. I also believe that our education system has some weaknesses. I'm into politics because I see these weaknesses, and I don't think anybody has all the answers. So
why not feed all
So
those
why don't we
issues
give
with more
everybody
guns?
more guns? Because if you have more guns, then you have less. Look, if my teacher could carry a gun, I would have been a whole lot better student in my classes because I'd be like, that guy could probably pull out. He wouldn't. They wouldn't. But no, I'd rather listen. When I went to school, I didn't have gunmen coming through the doors. Because the teacher propped it open. I didn't have police officers taking hours and hours to determine whether they want to go in or not. I mean, we have problems today that we never had before.
That's true.
It's hyped off of the fact that
And
the media is so
seeing
anti-gun.
and seeing that these young people are actively involved in violent felony crimes and are left off the hook because there's no witnesses to testify, there's a lack of evidence, and they go back into their communities and continue to terrorize their communities is the greater concern. There's, and I know there is tension between the sheriff's departments and the state's attorney's office in the Ninth Circuit. I know there's tension. There's got to be a better way. And we've all said this ad nauseum of addressing the crime that's happening in our communities, particularly with the young people, and finding a solution where they're not returning to their communities and terrorizing them. And this report, it's gonna raise some alarms. 41%, that's nearly half of all violent felony crimes by juveniles are dropped. 4 out of 10. Those are good odds for a young thug. Those are good odds.
Well, I mean, what message are you saying?
What message am I saying?
Look, I understand.
One, we're in perilous times. Two, there's got to be a better way. Three, what's happened in the past with organizations and influencers and advocates and activists and nonprofits being in the community and making the change and it's not working. The situation is getting worse.
So David, I this just popped in my head, so it's coming out live for you all. But what do you think? If charges are dropped on a juvenile, should there possibly be a program that addresses how to that's why I said it's live. Look, I'm thinking if you had a program that said, yeah, you got off this thing, but this is what you need to be doing to make sure you're not here again, or these are things that keep people from coming here, or do you think that it'd be a punishment? So I don't think you could do it, but is there a way to say, hey, you got charged, there's not enough to go forward, or we're going to dismiss this, but we want you to make sure that you went through this counseling session?
No.
Okay.
Because let me preface this by saying that program will be reactionary to someone who is going to look at the program, look at what they're going back to, and saying, what I'm going back to is a little bit more profitable for me than a program that pretty much at the age that I'm doing what I'm doing to commit a felony, especially a violent felony, I'm beyond any type of reform, any type of rehabilitation. Listen to me.
I'm listening.
So
I'm very
saying
interested.
that, because you remember, I worked with children and families for 30 years.
I always refer to you
20,
when I need
30 years. And so I have some expertise in this. I've worked with a range of ages with children. Instead of something reactionary on the tail end, we need to look at the programs at the beginning of life, at the beginning of a child's interaction in society.
David, they're too busy. They're too busy trying to figure out what their sex is. They're too busy trying to figure out.
Let's not go.
Come on,
let's
David.
not go down that. But what I'm no. But seriously, we need to examine. We need. Well, yes, but we need to examine the programs, the institutions that are in place now, the nonprofits, the organizations, the influencers, the advocates, and all that stuff, and saying, okay, are we spending our money? Are we getting the resources and the solutions and the results that we're investing in? What programs are there where we're reaching the young folks that end up contributing to society in a positive manner? There's not everyone is going to succeed. There are going to be some of us who are going to fall through the cracks. That's just nature. We're not going to be able to help everyone. Not everyone's going to be willing to want to be helped. Not everyone's going to succeed. But however, we need to look at reforms that actually work.
Well, one of the things you see right now, like David, have you?
Yes.
So David, if I gave you if you had $1,000 and you wanted to deposit it in my bank account,
Okay.
so whether it's a check or whatever, if you had cash and you said, I want to deposit this in Joel's account, what's
Right.
his account number?
Right.
What are they going to do? They're going to deposit it?
Well, deposit money. I mean, there'll be some questions. It's like,
No,
why
they
am I-
won't.
Oh,
Not with the
no.
laws nowadays. They won't touch it. If I deposit cash, that's fine into my account.
But if I transfer,
But you could transfer, but that's digital. So
okay.
remember, cash transactions are becoming very hard to do because they're trying to address the situation where those crimes are mostly done through cash transactions. Now, make it more difficult to have cash. Hey, I went to deposit money for my daughter. She's got the same last name as me. I'm sorry, you
Okay.
can't deposit that cash. I'm like,
Now this
okay,
applies.
got $3,000. Going to put it in one of into a business account, and the business
Okay.
account rejects. Sometimes they're trying to limit cash transactions. Why don't we teach children, like you're saying, about money, how to handle it, how to make it? Because if you teach somebody how to make money, not the quick, easy, the quick and easy way. I'm telling you,
I
it
don't
might.
think so.
Listen,
I don't think so.
if you taught me about
If-
investing when I was in high school, and not like 10 years after
But
my
Joel-
career, I mean, come on, I'm 10 years into
But
my
Joel,
military
that's-
career.
But Joel, you're raised. You were raised. You and I are raised differently than many of these young people who are facing felony, violent crime charges. Much different.
I understand.
Now, if we were growing up in an environment that these individuals were likely came from, that we can probably have a good guess where, the opportunity that you present is not necessarily going to be there, or it's going to be there, but dangling outside that school classroom is the opportunity to make tons of money very quickly and have all the bitches you want, all the cars, all the nice clothes, all the jewelry.
I can't fix the problem.
That versus sitting in the classroom and learning macroeconomics.
Damn, David, I got the wrong job. See you in a little.
Yeah.
Oh,
Trade school is a good
get
idea.
it. We
I like that.
I
Apprenticeships.
listen. I lived in the middle class neighborhood. You could throw a stone over to the. I guess at the time it was called the projects. Now
Sure.
I mean, it's kind of gone through several different names, but these are the kids I went to school with, and they would want something different, but they just didn't know how or what to do. So yes,
Okay.
listen, I didn't have to scrape and scrounge to get what I needed. I didn't have to have, my dad worked hard all the time. He brought back money, but these people's parents tried to get off welfare at the time and couldn't even get off welfare. It was a difficult process to get off of welfare and into the workplace. So I don't know how we can educate them earlier or give them that support early enough.
Oh, there's solutions. There's solutions for parents. There's whether it's a two-parent household or a single-parent household. There's solutions out there.
Oh, David,
There's
yeah.
books upon books. There's really no new, fresh ideas out there. It's just a matter of the will to want to implement some of those
I
solutions.
really don't want the audience to totally loathe me because you know what, I could go down that road for hours. But listen, if you're a troubled youth, I'll tell you the best thing that you could ever do is join the United States military. It will teach you very quickly that you depend more on other people than yourself. And teamwork is the only way to better yourself. Okay. Or you can go into the Peace Corps and learn
Yeah.
how to take care of people. But David, you and I both went those routes.
Yes.
we
Yes,
both,
we did.
We both saw the troubles that we could be in,
Yes.
and we chose not to do that.
Right.
We need to find a way to help these youth have other options.
We start with the family.
Oh, big time. That's me. Whoa, that's me.
We start with the family.
So I appreciate the time that we talked about the juveniles. I totally agree with you on this one, David.
It's a hot button issue.
It's hard. I know there's solutions. I know that I'm not the expert in this area,
Sure.
but we love people. And because we love people, we want to see a better life for them. So you can't make this shit up.
You can't.
Morrell is dropping cases like they're on fire, and our crime is not going down.
Yeah. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification button. See you next time.
And fire will well.